sustainability and social justice. So I'm sorry for the late posting, but I had a teleconference call today that I wanted to wait for before I posted anything. So today my teleconference call was actually in regards to the LGBT community in senior citizens in regards to Alzheimer's, as well as their life partners. So this teleconference call was, I'm just going to keep referring to my notes, sorry, was from the Alzheimer's Foundation of America, and it was of Dr. Tim Johnston, who's the manager for education and training for SAGE, which is Services and Advocacy against for the LGBT community and elders. So this was actually a pretty interesting teleconference call. It's something that I've never even considered for some ungodly reason. I'm not really sure why. But so he provided quite a bit of background and had stated that there's over, currently right now there's about 3 million LGBT elders, and that number is going to increase to about 7 million in 15 years. So the topic of this teleconference was in regards to how they're viewed today and how their caregivers are, and what's being done for them in the forms of advocacy and whatnot. So he basically gave a background to individuals who might not be familiar with certain terms, and also kind of gave a brief history, and which I thought was pretty interesting because there were some things that I did not know, and it still states today that some of these individuals are afraid to still come out and say that they are whatever orientation that they choose to be and whatnot, due to a lot of issues in the past from being treated unfairly and unjustly. So, and he had mentioned that in the 1940s and 50s that, you know, some of these individuals, the government was actually actively seeking them out to say, hey, we know this is how you are and whatnot, and this led to people having loss of jobs, you know, being rejected by their families, and obviously we all know being institutionalized, because up until I believe he said it was 1973 that homosexuality was considered a diagnosable disease. So these individuals were being thrown into institutions or being hospitalized against their will in regards to trying to cure them, so to speak. So he gave some background on that, and then has basically stated what's come about recently as far as you know, equality in marriage, and noted that in 2003 there are still some places in the state of New Hampshire where consensual sex with the same-sex individual is still illegal. And at the time of this teleconference call, he was actually waiting at baggage claim in Houston, because he was doing an advocacy down in Houston, Texas, in regards to the LGBT community. They were passing a law, or trying to strip a law, in regards to these particular individuals and how they can still be fired from their jobs. If he used the example of an individual becoming married at 11 o'clock to their partner and then going to work at 1 and saying, hey, this is a photo from my wedding, and that person could be fired just because of their sexual orientation. So this was basically just to give a little bit of history in regards to what's going on in the LGBT community today. But he also had given us some tips, because as you know, at the hospital that I work at, I currently am doing my internship on the medical floors as well as on our geropsych unit. So this was to bring awareness to the geropsych unit in regards to these individuals that are either lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgendered, and also those that are questioning, because I guess some people put a Q at the end of that, and for questioning in regards to they still haven't figured out their identity, they're trying to kind of determine where they are, or they're not quite sure, type of thing. So this was basically a teleconference to be in compliance, I guess, not in compliance, but for everybody to become culturally sensitive, and to make sure that the proper language is being used, and how to be culturally competent within the LGBT community. So he basically, sorry, kind of timed out there. He basically said that, you know, to learn the acronym if it's not something that you're used to, and that you should stand in front of a mirror for a few minutes and say LGBT over and over and over again, so you become familiar with it. So when you're talking to an individual that is part of this community, that they don't feel that that you have no idea what you're talking about. And he also mentioned that it's very important for others. I'm going to be going over my time today, guys. I'm sorry. That says to listen for what language people are using to describe themselves, so don't assume. So like if you have an individual that comes in and says that, this is so-and-so my roommate, don't automatically assume that they're more than roommates. Always refer to, okay, so is your roommate coming in today, type of thing, because you don't want to make that judgment and make them feel any more comfortable. And also what was brought up was that for advocates, it's very important that if you have a situation where you have an individual that has dementia and is part of that community, and there are certain behaviors that go along with individuals that have dementia, Alzheimer's, they tend to forget who they are, where they are, and can become inappropriate at times. So it was brought up that a bad behavior is a bad behavior, and it needs to be disciplined in a certain way, but that it makes sure that it's disciplined fairly for a heterosexual individual as it is for an LGBT individual. Also, he went on to discuss individuals who have Alzheimer's that are transgendered, and he discusses that individuals that start later on in life with hormone therapy and whatnot, anybody who's taking a hormone therapy, it tends to affect your memory. So it's trying to make that determination with whether it's the memory loss is from the Alzheimer's or it's from the hormone therapy. But unfortunately, he said there's really not much research on that, but that you stand along with them and let them know that you're right there with them, and that if one day they say that they're a male, then they're a male, and if the next day they say they're a female, then they're a female, and you kind of just reinforce that and make them feel safe, comfortable, and secure in who they are, because chances are they don't really remember. Also, he was discussing how facilities need to become more inclusive, whereas if you go to a like a nursing rehab website or whatever, and there is an individual, there's a picture on there, and it's usually a white male and a white female pictured as a couple. In order to make members of the LGBT community feel secure and to feel safe and that they're accepted, there should be more inclusion in regards to this community in brochures and on websites and whatnot, to let them know that they welcome all. He gave a lot of wonderful resources. SAGE, which is the organization that he works for, in regards to advocacy and certain issues that are going on currently right now. Also brought up Lamenda Legal, which is where partners and their loved ones can go and seek legal advice if they feel they're being treated unjustly. Also, he brought up a wonderful website that I just briefly was able to skim because I've been doing my internship all day. It's the LGBTagingcenter.org, and there's, so far from what I can see, there's been a lot of great information on there in regards to this particular group. Also, there was time that was allowed for Q&A, which was wonderful. So we got to hear firsthand from actually one woman. Her name was Susan. She's from Connecticut, and she's 57 years old with early onset dementia, which is actually very, very young. And she brought up about individuals that have the hands-on care and how they need to be culturally competent with the LGBT community, because they are the ones that have the most contact with her. She wants to make sure that she's going to be treated justly and not have somebody else's bias affect how she's being cared for, because there's going to come a time for her where she's not going to be able to voice her own opinion. She's not going to really remember or really know what's going on. And what was wonderful after that was that her life partner, Jamie, had called in as well and had brought up a really good have rooms as such at assisted living facilities or long-term care facilities where both a husband and a wife can live together. And she had brought up, I don't understand why they don't have that for the LGBT community. If they can have it, then we should be able to have it as well, because we are now a recognized individual in regards to their marriage is now legal and it's recognized. So she brought that up, which I thought was really, really wonderful. And there was also there was a ton more people that were bringing up questions, and I tried to pick out a few that I thought were very important. And one woman actually that works in New York State had brought up CMS, which is the Center for Medicaid Services, in regards to language changes, with their medical criteria and some of the forms that they use. And I don't know if any of you have seen intake forms. You have single, married, widowed, male, female. You don't have a life partner on there. You don't have anything for a person who has a transgendered identity, which might at one point in time not associate with either male or female. So it was brought up to find out if CMS had any plans in changing a lot of their language and terms that they use in their forms. And Tim, as of right now, had stated that there's no foreseeable changes in the future in regards to the language being used on those forms. And he says oftentimes most people will skip those because they don't want to answer them. But he says that having that on a form can help the person, realize that they're being identified, they're being recognized for who they are, and they're going to have the respect that they deserve for the person that they are. So he had made a suggestion to this individual that at the facility that she works, that she can just change the forms to include those other options that we're now seeing. And he said it can also help for an individual who might not want to come out and say, hey, this is how I am. Oftentimes, by having it on a form and showing that they're being recognized, tends to make them want to participate more. So yeah, so that was my teleconference. I thought that it was very, very interesting. I don't know why. I mean, I know the community. I advocate very well for the community where I live here, but I never thought of it with dementia. So it was very eye-opening for me. It was also wonderful to hear firsthand stories on how people are feeling and how they feel that they are being treated, and that they just want the same equal rights as everybody else, whether they love a male, a female, or a female, female, or male, male, or both. So it was a wonderful learning experience for me. I got a lot of great resources. So I'm hoping to do some more research on that. And it actually came from a wonderful website called Care Connection that has a whole bunch of different trainings. So one of the social workers at the hospital had set this up, so I thought that it was really great and had asked me to be a part of it. So yeah, I really don't have a question for you. I just kind of wanted to share that with you, and if you have any thoughts, I would be very happy to hear it. Sorry I've gone over my time, and I hope you're all having a good week. Thank you.